In Washington, tensions are rising once again, this time over another possible government shutdown. As the clock ticks toward midnight, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana took to the Senate floor with a fiery speech, questioning both the political motives and policy choices driving the stalemate. What he said offers a glimpse into the deep divide shaping budget talks and the familiar blame game that seems to accompany every shutdown threat. Let's take a listen. Senator Kennedy's remarks highlight what he calls the unserious nature of the negotiations between Senate Democrats and Republicans. According to Kennedy, Republicans have proposed a temporary measure to extend current government funding until just before Thanksgiving, essentially buying time for further negotiation on a new full-year budget. But Democrats, he claims, are demanding additional spending, roughly $1.5 trillion more, along with policy reversals, including rolling back Medicaid reforms and permanently extending expanded Obamacare subsidies first introduced during the pandemic.
Mr. President.
The senator from Louisiana.
Well, Mr. President, it looks like we're going to have a shutdown. What does that tell us? I'll tell you what it tells me. It's simply that much more evidence that human evolution is a slow process. I thought humans had advanced more as a species, but apparently we haven't. What do I mean by a shutdown? Well, we can't keep government open without a budget. And tonight at midnight, our current budget expires unless we vote to maintain the status quo and continue the current budget as we negotiate a new one. Many of my Democratic friends say, well, what's the problem? The Republicans are in charge. The president's a Republican, and the Republicans have a majority in the Senate, and the Republicans have a majority in the House. What's the problem? They know what the problem is. We can't pass a budget. We can't keep government open just with Republican votes here in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. We need 7 Democrats to join with us. So for my Democratic colleagues to say, well, the Republicans are in charge and they don't need us, they know that's not accurate. And that's what's going on. Now, we've had a few shutdowns before, and every shutdown is different, but most shutdowns are a combination of both policy and politics in varying degrees. This shutdown, in terms of policy, makes absolutely no sense. None. What we have proposed to our Democratic colleagues and the minority leader, Senator Schumer, is to make no changes to the current budget. We just want to continue the current budget and keep government open until just before Thanksgiving to give us more time to negotiate a permanent budget. We did that many times when President Biden was president and when the Democrats had the majority. In fact, we did it 13 times. Not only have Republicans done it, but Democrats have routinely done it. But this time, the Democrats have said, no. We want more. And you may be thinking, okay, that's reasonable. What do you want? Well, it's not reasonable. In effect, what the Democrats are saying to us is that we're going to close government unless you Republicans agree to make it bigger. We don't want the status quo. We want you to commit to spending $1.5 trillion more than you're spending now. And we, the Democrats are saying, are going to tell you how to spend it. First, they want us to repeal all of the Medicaid reforms that we did in the reconciliation bill. Some call it the One Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill would not reduce Medicaid. In fact, it would go up about 2% every year as a result of our bill. But it would say to people who are on Medicaid, who aren't eligible for Medicaid, that you're not going to get Medicaid anymore. Dual eligibles, people who sign up in Louisiana and Mississippi, that's fraud. Under our bill, they would be thrown off. The Democrats want them put back on. Under our changes in the One Big Beautiful Bill that the Democrats want us to reverse, you would have to satisfy certain income levels to be on Medicaid. The law says if you make too much money, you can't get Medicaid because Medicaid is for the poor. In my state, we have found people through audits making $120,000 a year on Medicaid. So our bill, which the Democrats want us to repeal after just passing it, would say to those people that if you don't meet the income limits, you can't get Medicaid. So that's the first demand of the Democrats. Take out all the reforms that we made to Medicaid in the reconciliation bill and throw them out the window. Number two, they want to extend the Obamacare subsidies. What does that mean? Well, first let me say Obamacare was a mistake, and we know that now. When President Obama passed Obamacare, we were told that our lives would be better. Our lives have been worse. We were told that it would make health insurance more accessible and more affordable. It's done neither. On the non-Medicaid part of Obamacare, we've got, 25 million Americans who are accessing it. And for the most part, about 90% of them are low-income Americans. But the rest are making huge sums of money. Some are making $160,000 a year getting Obamacare subsidized by taxpayers. And that's not the way it was supposed to be. How did we get here? Well, it's simple. During the pandemic, when people were being laid off or losing their jobs or couldn't work, President Biden rammed through a bill to enlarge the subsidies. He took the cap off the amount that you needed to earn in order to get Obamacare. And those subsidies at the end of this year are about to run out. Now, the Republicans have said, we'll sit down with our Democratic friends and talk about how to extend them, but we want to reform the program because it's not right that people making $125,000, $150,000, $250,000, $200,000 a year are getting their health insurance subsidized by the federal government. That's bone deep down to the marrow stupid. But the Democrats, Senator Schumer and his colleagues, have said, nope, we will shut government down unless you agree automatically to extend these subsidies, which were passed during the pandemic, after the pandemic is over, permanently. And that's just some of my colleagues' demands. I mean, you need an Excel spreadsheet to be able to follow their demands. Their demands to keep government open, you stack them here, you could stand on them and paint the ceiling. And that's not much of an exaggeration. And when Senator Schumer announced these demands, that's when I knew. I knew it in a nanosecond. We're going to have a shutdown. Because my colleagues, my Democratic colleagues, are very smart people. And Senator Schumer is a smart person. And he knew when he announced these demands that I could tell he wasn't serious. He knew they were unserious. And he knew that neither the president nor the other members of Congress were going to accept them. And you know what? Many Democrats know they're unreasonable as well. So that's why I say the policy part of this makes absolutely no sense. And that's because this isn't about policy. This shutdown is about politics.
Kennedy argues these demands are unreasonable and politically motivated, suggesting that the shutdown has little to do with sound policy and everything to do with partisan leverage. On the other side of the aisle, Democrats have framed the issue differently. They argue that maintaining health coverage and assistance programs for struggling families is essential, especially as many Americans continue to face rising costs of living. To them, this isn't about politics, it's about protecting working-class Americans from cuts that could deepen inequality. As of now, the two sides remain locked in disagreement, and unless a last-minute compromise emerges, the U.S. is once again on track for a government shutdown. For millions of federal workers and contractors, that could mean furloughs, missed paychecks, and economic uncertainty heading into the holiday season. At its core, Senator Kennedy's speech underscores a reality that's become all too familiar in Washington. Even when both parties agree the government should stay open, political brinkmanship often takes center stage. Whether this standoff ends with compromise or yet another temporary patch, one thing remains clear: America's budget battles are far from over. Stick with us for clear, independent coverage of Congress's most pivotal moments. Subscribe to Congress Unpacked for more updates, because in Washington, the story is never really over.